Yeah, hello. Very good evening to you all, wherever you might be tuning in from around the world, and especially here in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. Very delighted to have you on the show today, a day after Christmas Day. Hopefully, you're still enjoying, you're having those remnants and enjoying time with the family. On behalf of the team here at KDL TV, we send Merry Christmas greetings and as well greetings for the holidays as we head to the new year. In the meantime, here on the show, we are delighted to bring a number of panelists to discuss on the COVID-19 pandemic. I think those African leadership here in Minnesota. But before then, a quick highlight of what we have tomorrow. Tomorrow, right here on KDL TV, we're going to have an engaging, very fascinating conversation with Miguna Miguna. He's a Kenyan politician living in Canada. He will be talking to Kenyans in the diaspora about his gubernatorial position. He wants to be the governor of the city of Nairobi. But tomorrow at 11:20 Central Time, we'll be on the show, and my colleague Ben Kebata will be hosting him at that time. So hopefully you do join us tomorrow at 11:20 Central Time, and that should be 8:20 East African Time. Shortly after that, my colleague again, Ben, will be stepping in for me. He will be moderating a discussion on mental health and domestic violence during COVID-19 pandemic. He will be hosting guests on the show who have been here before, Nelly Terori. She's a mental health consultant. She'll be on the show. And our big sister here, Ngozi Akubuike, will be back tomorrow. She'll be talking about the same, and we'll be welcoming Dr. Judy Nduso. She'll be talking about mental health tomorrow as well. But earlier in the day, tomorrow at 10:20 Central Time here in the US, I'll be on the set to host Dr. Delphine Kaniaro. She's a medical doctor. She'll be joining us live from California, and she'll be talking about living a healthy life during the COVID-19. She's been on the show, young and extremely brilliant young doctor. So we're looking forward to that discussion tomorrow. But in the meantime, here on KDL TV, we're very delighted to welcome a number of community leaders here in the state of Minnesota. We'll be focusing on a topic here. So honored to have on the screen good friends of ours. It's quite frankly very good to have some of my best friends in the world on the show. My good friend Dr. Richard Oni will be joining us right here. We also have Richard Jean Galgalo from the Little Africa is here as well, and also very honored to have two distinguished pastors here in the Twin Cities, Pastor Goki Oduloje and also Pastor Dr. Femi Akani joining us. But more importantly, on the set, very delighted to welcome back again our sister Ngozi to talk about the pandemic. So probably all I need to do right now is to have you guys introduce yourself. But first, let's begin with the sister. Ngozi, if you don't mind introducing yourself quickly, please.
Hi, my name is Ngozi Akubike. I am here as a member of the African Christian Fellowship, known as ACF. African Christian Fellowship is a body of Africans that are Christians, and we come together to fellowship and encourage one another, and also encourage the young ones to learn about Africa and pass on the legacy of Christianity and Africa to the younger generation, so that they can carry on what we have learned through life.
Ngozi, and just for a reminder of viewers, remember she just ran for the marshal position in Ramsey County. That was impressive of you. We appreciate you and good to have you back. Also, we have Pastor Goke Adeloje. This pastor, introduce yourself as well.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Jeremiah. Thank you, members of the panel. My name is Pastor Goke Odujole. I'm presently the president of the Egbe Omo Oduduwa, which is the Yoruba people southwest of Nigeria, one of the largest ethnic groups we have in Nigeria, among the three major people that span all the way from Lagos, which everybody always knows. Are you from Lagos? And that spans into the Benin Republic and parts of Togo. So when you talk about the Yoruba people, they don't normally only be in Nigeria. They span to at least three other countries, even as part of Ghana. And these are highly mobile professional people. I'm here living in the Twin Cities, southeast suburb of Cottage Grove, with my wife and my children, and also my aged mother, who has happened to relocate and make this place her home.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Nice to have you, Pastor, as well. We also welcome another pastor here, Pastor Dr. Femi Akeni.
Thank you, Dr. Jeremiah. I am Pastor Femi Akani. Started as a scientist done research on cancer and many pharmaceutical and basically in pharmaceutical chemistry and medicinal chemistry. But currently, pastor of the Redeemed Christian Church of God Restoration Chapel in St. Paul, and I've been in this position for I think up to 25 years now, 20 years rather now. Yeah, in St. Paul on Como Avenue. And this church is a Pentecostal church. Thank you.
You, Pastor, here, I can tell you that I've always watched your shows on Facebook. I haven't been to the church, but I promise after the pandemic, I'm going to come in there. But it's good to host you on KDR TV Live. So also honored to have on the show is my very dear friend. We go way, way, way back. Jane Galgalo is one of the very distinguished business entrepreneurs and leaders here in the Twin Cities. Jane, please introduce yourself. Muted, unmute, Jane.
Sorry, good evening, everyone. How everyone doing? I hope we all are surviving and soon we will thrive. My name is Jean Galgalo, President and CEO of African Economic Development Solutions, AEDS, and Little Africa, a non-profit organization that serves African immigrants in Minnesota.
Okay, very good. Nice to have you on the show. And lastly, to start us off the conversation is a dear friend to the show. He's been here many, many times, and I think is one of the very few African leaders here who has been very supportive of KDR TV and all its endeavors. Our very dear brother, Dr. Richard Oni.
Thank you very much for inviting me one more time. I'm Dr. Oni from Progressive Individual Resources. It's an organization that caters to the mental health needs and the well-being of Africans in Minnesota when it comes to emotional wellness. That is my area. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to participate in tonight's conversation.
Okay, good. Thank you, panelists, for coming on. And I think it's good news that if you look at the set here, it's very representative of the African immigrant community here in Minnesota, especially when you look at it stretching from the east to the west. I think this is fantastic and also professional. So it's good to have you on as well. So let's begin with you, Dr. Richard Oni, if you don't mind. I think COVID-19 has been a major problem, obviously, here in the state and across the country and obviously around the world. But let's give a quick dissection of what's happening in the community. What do you think is going well for our community, particularly the African immigrant community?
Well, COVID-19 is it's a global issue and it's not unique to Minnesota alone. However, when it comes to the African and many minorities, we know we are more impacted. And a lot of us have been involved in this to make sure that we're able to curb the more of this infection among the immigrant population as well. But it is something that we all are concerned about. And that is why we have this event tonight in order to make sure that we are able to address this so that we can curb it enough to at least we do not have this a lot of restriction that we are going under right now. However, if I have to talk about this is going to take a whole night, but I'm glad we have other people here that will talk from it from their own perception because this is real. And as we all know, people's perception is their reality. We have seen this happening, so it is real. And we need to talk about this so that we know how to address the issue confidently. I will wait till other people come in.
Okay, thank you, Richard. So I'm gonna, for a moment, I'll get to the pastors in a moment, but let me stick with you, Ngozi, as well. You do great work for our community, and many thanks to you for all you do for us. Based on your assessment, what do you think is going okay for us as a community as we fight this pandemic?
In fighting this pandemic, as Africans, we are traditionally religious people, and also we value our culture. And so for Africans, especially in the Christian community, it's been prayers, and that's been helping. It's really hard on Africans at this moment because we like communion living. But for our community presently, I think it's prayers and having to check on others to make sure that everything is okay.
Thank you, Ngozi, for having you. And then let's also get the perspective from Jen Galgalo. Jen, you just held a very successful African Immigrant Leadership Conference a week or 2 weeks ago. From your end, and again, many thanks to you for all the great work you're doing for the African immigrants here in the state and the U.S. What do you think is working for us?
The COVID is impacting African immigrant and people of color in general. And from the economic perspective, we are really impacted by the pandemic. Already the challenges in our businesses, because all before the COVID, we already have businesses suffering because of the lack of financing. And in business perspective, our businesses is still suffering the most because they are financially challenged even before the COVID started.
Okay, thank you, Jeannie. Thank you. So, thank you. So, at least it looks to me like this is really universal amongst the African immigrant, and I think the good news today, we have the pastors on the show. So, I'm going to bring the pastors on this issue. Of course, there are many challenges in any community. You know, people go into their families, and sometimes you go consult experts in the community. But most importantly, people look to beyond the skies for guidance. And so, as pastors, we all as a community tend to look to you for guidance. Based on what you see in the church community and in our communities, what issues have you seen that are of major concern for the immigrant community that we as leaders should really be dealing with? So, let me begin with you, Dr. Femi, if you don't mind, please.
Bring me into this show. One of the things our people usually they like talking to each other, and one thing also is that when one is sick, it affects virtually the community. You easily know, and they want you, especially, to visit, but under this COVID, it's not possible. So what we try to do is to pray for them over the phone and to encourage them that it will soon pass away, that is just a passing phase. They really need encouragement, especially being far from Africa. And in some cases, some people are alone. In some cases, it could be a single mother. In some cases, you have students that maybe don't have any support group. So it's really encouraging them, praying with them, and also finding a way to get them to believe that this thing will soon pass away. That is just a passing phase.
Very good. Thank you, Pastor. So let me bring you also, Goki. Goki, your pastor, in your intro, you did say you're living with your family. That's fantastic. But as you said that, I also noticed that in most families right now, people are having even a hard time living together because of the quarantine. In fact, even husband and wife are fighting morning to evening. The children are home playing all the time and messing up. So, from your perspective, what are some of the two major issues that are of concern to the immigrant community during this pandemic? And if any, how can we resolve them?
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And like Gegelu said, we're very communal people. We like living together, and we're very resilient people. Everybody on this planet that was not born here, we've gone through tough time. So finding ourselves in this kind of situation, our first rule is survival. We stay on the fact that we need to survive. Most of our children that were all born here that never saw the kind of struggle that we've gone through before coming here. You see, we've imbibed in them the culture, the African culture, that the number one thing you need to do is to survive. Our people are now taking this thing to be a hoax. We're taking it to be real. A lot of people who know themselves to be vulnerable, they're taking their time off and they're losing wages. And I know that a lot of people also, most of our people, especially those that work in the health industry, they pay by the rules. They play by the rules. They make sure that everything, that all the COVID-19 protocols, they are well prepared. My wife, she's an RX. She's an RX. She works in an hospital. Immediately she comes home in her overall, before she even gets in, she will remove all the coveralls and throw it there. She knows this thing is for real. So we are not a group of people that is taking this thing for granted. We make sure that we're prepared. And that has been our strength. As a community, we are interwoven. What happens to A happens to B. And we make sure that we are each other's keeper. And that has been one of the good things. Yes, our people have been impacted, especially those that maybe their means of income is preparing events. Maker, I met somebody throughout this year, they never hosted an event. And this is an husband and a wife. That is all they do. And they have been impacted. And most of our people are not able to get the resources because of all the attachments that goes with some of this that the government do, that favors only the big players. We have a lot of people that are just doing mom and dad pop and shop here, and they are seriously affected and they're just surviving. But the community has been moving and making sure that we work together so that we can survive as a group.
Thank you, Pastor Goke, for your perspective. Let me bring you back on, Dr. Oni. And I think there are people watching tonight and who will be watching this show even after tomorrow. Now, one of the greatest problems that we have in a community is information, how people get information. And I think that's been a major, major problem, not just with COVID-19, but quite frankly, overall. When we get here, we get socialized, but sometimes we lack information. And I think I had a show here with Jean Galgalo not too long ago, and I was very surprised the information was passing across to us. For example, how many women have businesses and who lives in businesses. But specifically to COVID-19, how do our community get information? If any, you're very knowledgeable and very well strategically placed. How should our people get information so that we together fight this pandemic?
People, there's a saying that information is power and knowledge, but sometimes information is what gives you that edge to at least acquire that knowledge. How we need to get information sometimes is because of the fact that the information are sent out through different medium of communication that many of us may not have, especially some older people within the community may not know what is going on out there. And because their supporters like children or adults are very busy to even share the information. So a lot of time, our community is word of mouth, and majority of this information are written down. So we are more of oral people. We don't read a lot. And so part of what people need to be doing is to have information like this. The Restoration for All is an agency that put this together, and it's because they want this information to go out. So when we talk about things like this, I think it goes out more than reading about it. A lot of people are online right now watching this. So we need to be more inquisitive, meaning looking out for information through other means. And so the system need to be more of oral, like sending information to cultural groups to for them to now spread this way. We've done this in different languages, Pidgin English. We've done it in, so the system need to do better in enforce and allowing us to be the carrier of information as opposed to them having the information themselves. So it goes back to the system, that the system need to trust us to be the one that can disseminate information to our own people, because we are the gatekeeper. They cannot come to our community, and they don't know how to even come to our community. So that is why we are doing this tonight, so that many Africans within the area here and north of Minneapolis or south, everywhere can hear that, because we cannot go around and be sending flyer out now. So it is important that we do more of oral communication.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Owen. Let me bring you back also, Ngozi, for a moment. And I think this is a good one for you as well about getting information and passing that information to the people, and correct information for that matter. Especially, following your campaign, I'm sure you're in a better place to tell us how people get information and how maybe going forward we should get information and pass it to our people as quickly as possible. From your take, how do we get information going forward?
When we, as immigrants, African immigrants, when we come here, we are more preoccupied with working and even not getting ourselves acquainted with the system. And the system also does not know much about African immigrants. And so when certain things come around, they are not sure where to channel the information to. And like Dr. Oni said, I subscribe to oral communication, but we also, as Africans, it's a responsibility on our part, even as African leaders, to make sure that we get that information across to our people and make sure that they receive that information as trusted messengers. And we become trusted messengers by making sure that we build a relationship with the community that we are in. I'll give you an example of from what Dr. Oni said about the system not knowing how to pass information across to us. This is a practical one. The system is distributing food items and to various communities, including African communities. And I approached them and they told me, oh, we have an Oromo group providing food for all Africans. And my question is, no, Africa is a continent. I had to explain to them that Africa is a continent and we don't all eat the same food, the same kind of food. The food that we eat there, different for each African group. And so it's a responsibility on the leaders to be a sort of gatekeeper, a sort of messenger between the system and the community that we serve. And we need to know our community needs to know us, and the system also needs to know who the leaders are, so that when information comes across, they are able to pass that information to the leaders, and the leaders as well pass on to the community. I believe through that process, we'll be able to achieve a lot more, because this is an area that we really lack a lot. And as a result, we miss out a lot because of lack of information.
Your brothers and sisters walk into the courtroom sometimes on trivial issues. Hopefully in the future, if you don't mind, come back and talk to us, especially how we should be dealing with the law of this country. So let me also bring you in, Jean. Jean, if we can bring Jean on the screen. We are talking about COVID-19, and you're better placed. You're a guy of numbers. You deal with business. How big of an issue is really COVID-19 to our community? And by the way, if you don't mind, you want to show our viewers your T-shirt about the little Africa, so that they can also have a good understanding. That's Jean Galgalo, the president, founder, and CEO of the Little Africa. As you highlight what it is. How big an issue is COVID-19, please, Jean?
Thank you, Dr. Okari. I really appreciate you bringing a very diverse perspective from spiritual health, from health itself, and social perspective and economic perspective. And that is every single. So the lack of information of integrated approach, the reason why many of our African immigrants was left out of grant support that came through cities, counties, and the state, and also federal government grants. When information come, we need integrated approach of information passing. But that didn't happen for African immigrant. And by the time African immigrant heard about the existence of the grant is already over. So we really, have a small number of African immigrant who accessed a grant qualified for, and this is their need. We do need integrated approach, or a coalition of building a coalition that African immigrant, so we can have information pass easily to our African immigrant. My sister did mention about our diversity. That why we are very strong because of our diversity. Acknowledging our diversity is really critical. For some people, when they serve, like my sister just indicated, they serve Oromo, and they say African immigrant. Yes, it's good to say Oromo, because Oromo is the part of the African immigrant that give a different perspective for other who doesn't know about African immigrant, how diverse within Ethiopia. Oromo, there's in Ethiopia 80 different ethnic group within Ethiopia, with one country. So our diversity is our strength. It's good to mention that who particularly that group are serving, and go back to my comment about the lack of information. That is why many of our immigrant businesses did not access a small business grant during this COVID and the civil unrest.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. So I'm glad, and I'm going to bring in the pastors here in a moment. And I think it's good to pick up from where you left, Gene, and acknowledge the diversity. And I think 2 weeks ago, I had Ambassador Kana Shombori on our show here. And what we are talking about is if you are not on the table, then you're on the menu. If you're not on the menu, then you are under the table. But then there is almost consensus here at why do you want to be on somebody's menu? Why do you want to be on somebody's under the table? Let's create a table of our own. And that is part of what we're doing here at KDL TV. Instead, since we don't have a platform on CNN or Fox News or WCCO, we really need to have a platform like this one where we bring all people from all walks of life, different nationalities here and the different professional backgrounds. And I think with this, we're not just spending an hour here, but we're also sending a very powerful message to the next generation of African immigrants. They should really be picking up from here going forward. So as we do so, now I'm going to bring in the pastors again. Thank you for being on, because I think your presence here is really is very, very encouraging, because in times like this, we really need your wisdom. We really need your guidance. Now, based on what you're saying, why do you think COVID-19 is spreading so fast within our community? And if you don't mind, Dr. Kemi, I want to start with you.
The Africans are very social people. Even when they come to church, we tell them follow our protocol. But sometimes as they are going out, they feel, oh, I've not seen my brother, I've not seen my sister for some time. They want to greet them. If you go back to Africa, all our old men, they live long because they wake up in the morning, they go around the community greeting everyone, and that's the exercise they do. So we carry some of these things here, even after we tell them, oh, when meal you finish, just make sure you wear mask, make sure social distancing. One way or the other, you find them that this is my brother now. I believe he won't carry, he's not carry COVID-19. It's not something you can see by physically. It's something that as a scientist, I know that it's a virus. You can't see a virus with your eye. So that's one of the problem we have. Secondly, most of us, which is true to some extent, we believe by taking some of these herbal things, ginger, this lemon, which helps, that we'll become immune to them. And also some of us, which is good, I preach it, we believe in God faith. But the Bible also says faith without works is dead. It's good to have the faith. As a scientist, it's also good. to follow the scientific protocols. So that's one of those things, not just faith without works, but faith with works. And God, being so kind, will protect all of us by special grace.
Amen.
Thank
Amen.
you.
So thank you. Okay, let me also bring in on the same topic, and I think there's also been conversations, and Dr. Akemi brings a very good point, especially the African community. You know, if somebody, say, for example, where I grew up in Kenya, if somebody dies, there must be a reason behind it, and somebody's neighbor probably is the reason for that. I think that's that's the African setting. So there's this argument. It's either follow the science or follow God, whichever way you perceive God to be, right? And thank you to your wife for coming from work and cleaning herself and doing all those necessary procedures. Why do you think it really COVID-19 is spreading in our community? And more importantly, how should we resolve that? Unmute yourself, Goke, please. No, you're still muted, sir. Pastor, you want to unmute yourself. I think Pastor is muted. If you unmute, you okay?
Is that
Pastor,
maybe is that from the studio or what?
oh, it's him. Is Pastor? You click that red the mic, don't unclick it. Okay, make sure that it's green. The mic should be green. Is it green? Okay, so there is. Okay, I think Ben, we can work from behind the scenes as we can move on, and then we'll bring you short in a moment here.
Okay.
Don't mind, please, if you don't mind. And then with that, then let me go back to Dr. Oni. Pastor Ogoke, we'll bring you momentarily here, please. Let's talk about culture. The people may not understand culture, the African culture. What actually is African culture, especially relative to COVID-19? Dr. Oni.
Well, you know, we talk about culture, but culture is not static. Culture is very dynamic. And when you are in Rome, you have to do what the Romans are doing. And so a lot of time we blame things on culture. And when it comes to issues like this, we cannot blame it on culture, because one of the things is back home, even in Africa, people wash their hand after they touch something that is not everyday touching. And so cleanliness is not something new to us. What I think is new to this is because somebody is mandating it. And so our culture is very resistant to being commanded to do things. So it's not culture. I think it's part of our behavior sometimes, that we're in charge and that we can do it. Now, people can take time off and stay home and do well, but now they are saying you have to stay home. So it's very contradictory. And a lot of time I say to people, even the children that are with us, some of them are wondering why parents are at home. And we need to do more communication to let people know. So part of our culture is the fact that when we are forced to do something, it's called forced choice. It's that we don't feel like we have a choice. And so we go around to violate some of those protocols. The other reason why I think it's happening to our culture, that people use it as culture, is because it's also a constraint to us that you have to do A, B, C, D in a day. If it's naturally a way that we can just do without being forced, people might follow that. And so when we look at culture, we need to just not blame anything on culture like that, because our culture is very dynamic. Part of the thing here is what some of my other people have talked about in terms of being sociable, being touching people. We are able to touch, we are able to shake hand. Now we cannot do those things. So it's very frustrating for us. And so finally, people just say, you know what, forget this. I'm going to do A, B, C, D. So I don't think it's part of the culture per se, but it's part of the inconveniences You go to the store quickly. If you don't remember, you have to go back because you found out you don't have your mask on you. And so some of these things are very inconvenient. Even in America, that is why it's going so fast. Americans like their freedom, but now they are really, really too structured. And so we are not used to that structure in our community. We just do their own thing. So I think that is one I can see.
So thank you, Dr. Richard, as well. Pastor Goke, please log completely out and then back in. Completely out and then back in.
I did that already.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
I
good.
logged out and I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Now you're very. It's good. It's good to have you back. Then okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Then
so
sorry.
I quickly want to make a very important on to why we are having this spread. You know, the typical African immigrant does not do one job. He's probably do 2 or 3 jobs to be able to make ends meet. Because why? He's got a family he's supporting back in Africa, and he's got his bills back here and his family also to support. And this now makes us to be vulnerable because by the time you go from one job and come back to your second job and get back home, you are at more risk than those who just do a normal job and keep in to that. So that's one of the one reasons I would say we have been most impacted because COVID-19 does not discriminate against you whether you're black or whether you're white. This is a very serious pandemic that we are all experiencing, and the statistics has shown that even the people of color, people like us, and people, the black African Americans, are more impacted. And you know, most of our people that work in nursing homes, that works in hospitals, they are at more risk, and they are the ones that will be able that want to do extra shift to be able to get more income and to be able to take care of their family. So that is direct impact. Even those who are indirectly by COVID-19 through those whose jobs have been affected, whose jobs have been furloughed, whose hours have been cut off. So people find ways to be able to create a balance because there's never a day your bill is going to stop. You still got those bills to pay. If your landlord is fair enough with you for a time, it doesn't mean total forgiveness. You're still going to pay that money. And we as a people, we don't like putting ourselves in debt. And as such, we are creating more risks because we got to do more. I'm sorry. Our white Caucasian people, they don't give themselves the kind of risk that we are putting ourselves in. We put ourselves into more risk. And that is why you're seeing such a significant increase in this COVID-19 among people of color and immigrants like us.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Pastor. And of course, apologies for the technical hiccup there. So let me bring in Sister Ngozi, if you could. I think put it together. The two pastors are talking about African socialism, and I think people tend to listen to moms than they could listen to men like us. Probably they might say these are men making noise, but as a mother, what are some of the African cultural aspects or values that you think we as African people, whether you're from Nigeria, from Ethiopia, from Kenya, whatever country you're from, that we should really try to stay away from right now so that we go past this pandemic?
As we have all said, we are social beings. Africans, we like to touch, we like to hug, we like to have parties, get together. But with the COVID and the impact it's having on Africans and people of color, I think it's done on everyone that this is real and the risk is high. And so there is need for us to make sure that we comply with the precautions that we are asked to do. The things that we normally do at home, we wash our hands regularly when we use the bathroom. So we can incorporate that in our daily activities. Make sure we wash our hands frequently, and if we are not in a place where we can wash our hands, we use the sanitizers. Make sure that we keep our homes clean regularly, but now we can do that more often. and making sure that our children, at times we do sleepover, children do sleepover, make sure that we limit that, because we don't know where even if the children have not gone out, we don't know where the adults have been to. And if as much as possible, if we're able to utilize the online learning in order to make sure that we are safe. There's something that is one risk factor to immigrants, and that's the lack of vitamin D. And this has been hammered, a lot has been talked about it. When we were in Africa, Africa is usually a place where we have lots of sun, and we are out and about under the sun, and we have the benefit of the natural vitamin D. But here in the United States, we don't have that, particularly in Minnesota, where we have about 6 months of winter. And so it becomes critical that we make sure that we talk to African professionals. We have a lot of experts in our midst. We talk to them, we make sure our vitamin D intake is sufficient. We know that we can go. If we don't know, we should know that we can go for a test to determine the level of vitamin D in our system. And if there is a deficiency, we work with our health professionals to correct that. And like our pastor said, when you go to church, we know we are religious people by nature. When you go to church, is not a sin not to hug somebody. Let's try for this moment to refrain from hugging people, because we don't know where they have been. And it's more risky now, given that some people can be carriers without people knowing that they have the COVID. And so if we will do ourselves a lot justice by sticking to the precautions that we are asked to take.
Okay. Very good. Thanks, Sister Ngozi. I'll bring the pastors and Richard on shortly here. Jean, I think this question will be good for you, especially in regard to resources. I'm sure people watching here, we know we're different counties. We have Hennepin County, the largest county in the state. We have Ramsey, we have Anoka, we have Washington, all these counties. And I think as we're talking about the information aspect of it, most of our people may not have good source of information, and you're very strategically placed. You do lead a multi-million organization, so you work with businesses and government. So from your vantage point, how should, for example, Ramsey County support us as a community, and we as a community leaders, what are some of the resources you think we should go for from these counties, including Ramsey?
Oh, thank you, Dr. Okari. Information is a key for our survival in here and the thriving, because it's a key in this society where you have information you receive. I would not say how they can help us. I would say how we can help them, the counties, the government, and so they can communicate effectively with African immigrant community. I always say that one doesn't fit all. One fit all approach doesn't work. The counties, cities, and the state and the government need to work with community organization who understand the community, who have not only a cultural perspective, but all the necessary means to approach its community. The county need to build infrastructure and create a space where African immigrants have the opportunity to access those information. Having the community organization, working with community organization like this, and media, ethnic media like this media, who many African immigrant communities, and also having having that infrastructure is a key to access African immigrant. Also, uh, the county and the government have opportunity to work with organization, face-based organization, like African Economic Development Solution for business development, for workforce development, and also social service organization, and working with those organizations. And also, I would say not only the county, us as immigrant, also creating our own space where creating a African immigrant coalition is a key to create an integrated approach for African immigrant to disseminate a message to African immigrant and also from African immigrant to the counties and other entities.
Moment, I'm going to go back again to Dr. Oni. We do acknowledge one fact here that the Africans per se are very, very hard-working people. I think as Pastor Goke was talking moments ago, our people generally have one or two, three jobs. That's the nature of our people. But when you interpret that, it means that we work hard and we pay taxes, and therefore we're really justified to demand support from government, whether it's the county or state or federal government. So Dr. Oni, you are very well connected as well, and a good voice of our African immigrant community here. What are some of the areas that you could suggest that Ramsey County and all these other counties really should come in aid of our immigrant population?
In two ways here. I'm going to say we Africans, first of all, we need to be involved because these people don't know us. So we get to know them so that we can tell them our needs. Like many of us have talked about, some people, when their field is not in the area where that is social services, behavioral health services, they don't think they have contact with the system. And so unless you get contacted with the system, they don't know who you are. And so we need to be participatory. I'll give an example. 10 years ago, when they had census, they gave us a very low count because immigrant and refugee, when you talk about them, everything about them is estimation. It's an estimate. Nothing is concrete. We voted against their finding, and they said, well, they can't make any change. They cannot do any change until another 10 years. This year alone, some of us went and we got involved. So we need to be involved so that they know. We now brought them to different communities during this past census. I remember they even came to the event of African Economic Solution in the summer to advertise. So that is one of the things. We need to be part of them before. You cannot change the system unless you participate in the system. So we Africans need to be very active and participate. The other thing is we need to teach them what they don't know. You can't teach people what they don't know. And so our job is to teach them that this is whom we are and this is how they can approach us.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Richard, as always, and again, continue doing what you're doing for our community. We really appreciate it. So let me bring the two pastors here, and I'm going to start with you, Pastor Dr. Kemi, again. Let's talk about money, right? Money, money, money. Somebody was singing in my house today, chop my money, right? And I, I was telling Madam, hey, look, I don't have money. Hey, I want to chop your money, your money. Okay. But But COVID-19 has really chopped our money, right? So you're best placed to really understand the secrets and pain of our people, and especially families. How do you think money or finances have been a major problem within our community during this time? And from your perspective, how should we really navigate this problem about COVID-19? Because if you have a as ours, it's going to cause problems. From your end, what is your take on the same question, Dr. or Pastor Akani?
Thank you, Dr. Okari. As Pastor Goke said, money is very important, as you said. Without money, even the children know that the whole house will not be, especially in an African community, will not be easy for the man. And one way we could let them know that situation has changed. So we always say cut your coat according to your size, but now according to your clothes, that we should find a way of reducing maybe our expenses, but there are some expenses we need to take care of. And also, we should not allow, as a Pastor K said, that taking care of people at home and then affect our own finances here. Some people go extra mile to want to satisfy those back in Africa. Unfortunately, some of these people are even comfortable more than the person that's working 24/7. There are people that jump from one job to another. So I would tell them to looking for money, let's be reasonable. Let's also cut our cloth according to our cloth. If you have to downsize for a moment. And more importantly, I think also one thing I was thinking about is that most African communities, we don't take care of do preventive uh, thing when it comes to our health. Many people don't go for annual checkup. So, for example, they may be having diabetes, they may not know. So, overworking, and all this, the COVID, they say it's people with diabetes and some pre-existing condition. So most of us don't do the annual checkup, and they may be pre-existing conditions. So when the disease strike, it could be very devastating. So that's one other way we should look at it. Thank you.
You, Pastor, thank you for your encouraging words. Pastor Goke, same question here. For African people, some will say, wow, this is an opportunity, especially for those ones working in the healthcare industry. I have family members who work as nurses, where they are told you're going to come in, you're going to work double and make double money, right? Money sounds good, but that is not very good. At the same time, it's Christmas time, it's New Year. People in Africa are calling every night, they want more money. What do you say to a community? Do you go walking so that you can help people at home? Or how do you balance that, Pastor Goke?
Say that for somebody who is involved in helping people transfer money all over, I help a lot of people doing transfer, so I know, I see, and I believe. I think we need to understand it's only when you are healthy and alive that you can walk. When you are broken down, you cannot do anything. So first and foremost, you need yourself to be healthy. So what Dr. Akoni says, that is going to be the advice to which I would let people know. People will always ask you for money, but let them know at this time, COVID-19 has affected your work. So the way you've been giving is not going to be the same way. And at least everybody understand and everybody know that that is the reality. So when you let them know, the expectations will be dampened. And you yourself, you need to understand that going from one place to another place is not good for you as at this time. I even understand now that some nursing homes are restricting their staffs from doing any other job, from going from one place. They've put a restriction, a rule that for you to work in this nursing home, you cannot be exposing yourself to other people because of the people you are taking of who are more vulnerable. So we have to understand this thing. But I want to circle back to what Dr. Oni said. We have to be involved. Dr. Galgalo said information is the key. We live in a society where that without getting ourselves involved, we are only an island to ourselves. We need to play big in the bigger pool of water and not just all to ourselves within the circle of friends. We need to open up ourselves into bigger networks. And it's only through an integrated approach that we can be able to get the best for our people. So we are lacking. We are not doing enough on that. Information is the key. We are behind. And coming together, working more cohesively, integrated approach to be able to get part of the bigger pie is something that we as the leaders, both in the churches, both in our mosques, both in our communities, we need to put our heads together and improve on this in 2021. We are way far behind compared to other ethnic groups in this country. And that is the reality. Until we get ourselves involved and do an integrated approach, we won't be able to do much for ourselves and for our people.
Very well said, Pastor Goke. And I think you make a very good point. I think, in as much as we talk about the problems associated with COVID-19, let's also acknowledge something that is happening in our community. This actually is bringing us much together than I've seen people really do in the last 20 years I've been here in the state of Minnesota. For example, my Kenyan brothers and sisters here in the Twin Cities were far more united than I've seen them in 20 years' time. And I think also with the African immigrant community, people have come to realize this is home. We are not going anywhere, no matter what. We need to start fighting. And I think with this conversation, we will be going places. Hopefully, this is the beginning of many good things to come for the African community here in the state. And I always say on this show, we here, Africans here in the state of Minnesota, we should be an example for the rest of the nation, really. The more we come together, I think the rest of others will really copy from what we are. Let me jump back to you, Dr. Oni. I think Pastor was talking about the mental health of our state. And for our viewers, you're an expert in this thing. So COVID-19 really does also bring a lot of health issues, and particularly with mental health. Now, just give you an example of myself, who's been sitting at home since March, working from home. It's kind of crazy staying home all day and going out once in a while. So how should people manage their health really as we move forward, particularly the mental health part of it?
Want to talk about just this connection and being involved. Dr. Tolulope Ola was so involved in this project that brought us to be able to have this conversation. So it's part of this involvement. She found out that we need to be involved, and she got involved. And that is how the opportunity came to say, okay, you go to your community and make sure you discuss this. So that is one of the part that I want to address, that all of us need to be involved. Now, going back to COVID-19 and our emotional behaviors. Yes, COVID-19 has caused so many people to be lonely. Like Africans, we like to move around. Now you cannot do that. That causes some loneliness. Even when someone is sick, you don't have time. You cannot go and visit that person. That person is lonely and has no care. The other aspect is this COVID-19 has pushed people to the limit, where because of loneliness, they just cannot even relate to people anymore. And so people get very angry. It causes people to be angry and be more temperamental. A lot of time you say little things, they get wound up because they've just been alone. When you talk about mental health, we all know that all of us have mental health, but we don't all have mental illness. So this has caused people to see things that other people don't see because they are just so hallucinating. They are hearing things that when you hear so many things on TV that are so negative, your behavior becomes negative because you hear it repetitions with its memory. Really not handling situation. They got involved in drinking too much because if you look around now, they close all the stores. Bar, liquor store is now closed. So the system knows that people need to have another area to release information, to release their system and their emotion. And so people get drunk, people use more of gambling issues. So there's so many addiction now because of this issue. And so that is why our people need to really find way, make a phone call to people. When you are lonely, reach out. There's still some way. You say we cannot be physically available, but you can still be emotionally available. Make a call, do different things, create some hobbies for yourself. If you don't know how to cook for men, go and do more cooking. Go and do something that is really unique to you now to settle the situation. So, I mean, there are more things to talk about when we have other time for something like this. I think we need to talk more about that because people need to create opportunity for themselves. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Richard. Thank you very much. So, Ngozi, I'm going to frame this question for you. No matter what, this country still remains a country of laws. it's just simply as it can get. It can't go beyond that. It's a country of laws. So you are a lawyer by profession. You're matchless. You understand the courtrooms, really what happens. And I'm sure you've been on the show. You understand this better than anybody else. It's very painful, especially when you wake up and see a young brother or sister walk into the courtroom over something that surely should never have brought them. And building on from what Dr. Oni is talking about, what are some of the specific things that our immigrant community should not do so that they avoid calling you to hire you or walk into your courtroom?
Wow. What are you trying to say? Are you trying to get lawyers out of job or what?
After COVID-19, go ahead.
From some people, they've gotten into legal trouble just unknowingly, not knowing that those things could result in legal implications. And some also, not knowingly, have gotten into immigration problem as well. And unfortunately, ignorance is not an excuse when it comes to crimes. So at this time, I think one of the things, again, it goes back to leadership and information as well. First, for someone, there's a responsibility on the part of everyone when you come in to learn from those who have been there before you. And if those of us who are here are able to provide a platform for the incoming ones to learn the system, to learn the process, it will really be of an advantage to us. And that's why we also, as attorneys, for me, from time to time, I do legal updates for individuals so that they will know at least the basic aspects or some of the things that could get people into trouble. And so perhaps now more than ever before, we need to do that more often so that people are aware of some of the things that they can do that could get them into serious problem, especially immigration problem. And again, this is part of the resources that Dr. Tolu also has joined in ensuring that people are aware of some of the things going on in our community. We have made this place home, and it's a responsibility on us to make sure that we know what the laws are. And those of us that are in the legal field, we provide that platform in order to educate people and inform them of not only their legal rights, but also about their legal responsibilities. I also want to talk about getting involved in the country, our new home. And I want to emphasize the need for us to get involved in the politics of our new home, like Dr. Oni has alluded to. And we need to have a common front in this approach. They say there is strength in number. If we approach that as a group instead of as fragments of individuals, we will have a greater effect on the society than we currently have. We have made progress, but we still have a long way to go. And I think every one of us African immigrants, we should know who our politician, who is representing us at the House, at the Senate. We need to know them. We need to have their numbers. We need to be making contact with them. We need to hold them responsible, accountable to what they promised to do for us. We need to make sure that when they are there, they are actually working for us as a group.
Thank you so much, Ngozi. So let me also be mindful of another segment of our population before I bring the two pastors here, Jean. But we have a lot of African brothers and sisters who are running small businesses, and I think you're in that industry. During this very difficult time, some are losing businesses. What is the message? What message we would like to pass to our brothers and sisters who own small businesses? You're muted, my brother. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I want to take us to numbers. In 2015, Dr. Bruce Corey, Concordia University professor economist, did a research in partnership with our organization, African Economic Development Solutions. In that research, our marketing potential, African American marketing potential, is nearly 2 billion purchasing power in Minnesota. This year at Africa Leadership Conference, he came up with the new numbers. That number grew to 2.8 billion purchasing power. And also, the over $3 million we contribute to the state of Minnesota. Over 400 million we transfer money to Africa. We are asset for both Minnesota, U.S., and Africa, the continent itself. So, what information African immigrants need and in order to survive during this very difficult time? We need African immigrant connected to African immigrant organization like African Solutions AEDS. They can reach out at our www.aeds-mn.org or 651-646-9411, and other organizations like other organizations who provide in economic development and also who provide social service, and they get the latest information to make sure that if there is any small business grant or favorable loans or any resources that can help them to make sure that they don't left out from the service or grant available to them. So connection to this organization is really critical important. And also, getting to connected to the broader also. There's resources expected to come soon for a small business support, and we really encourage African American businesses to connect to our organizations, AEDS, and other organizations who provide business development. There are three African immigrant organizations that provide business development in Minnesota. Connect to those African immigrant organizations. And also Africa AEDS, I failed to mention earlier about what we really provide. We provide business development training program. We are a lender, a small business lending. We provide more business lending. We do financial education. We do home ownership education, workforce development, and credit placemaking, which is a Little Africa annual festival that Dr. Oni mentioning from the inception of Little Africa 2013 until Dr. Oni been participating with kind of activity to grow Africa. I highly encourage our small business to connect to community organization to make sure that they get the latest information, because if we don't have that information, we don't get that resources. So we encourage them to connect to aid other African American organization into the city.
Many thanks to the great work you guys are doing at the African Economic Development in Little Africa. I think that was fantastic, and the last National Leadership Conference was very successful. Thank you for all you do, and Oni, as always. I think almost every person I talk to knows Oni. You have no idea how much we appreciate you, Oni. So we're so proud to call you a friend and a brother. So thank you for doing all that you do. So let me bring in the pastors here before we get to the last question for you. The pastors, after all is said and done, yes, there is always hope. What message do you have relative to hope to our community? And I'm going to start with you, Dr. Akani.
always say that there is always light at the end of the tunnel. So just keep on encouraging them that sooner or later, this too will also pass away. Like the scriptures tells us in Psalm 30 verse 5, that the weeping may endure for a night, joy comes in the morning. Just keeping that things like this have come before and gone, and which is also be gone. That they should just hold on to God and hold on to their faith, and that God will see them through. There's always a brighter tomorrow. So that's what we continue to encourage them. And also, as someone said, it's always good to, from time to time, to call them, to encourage them. There are people that are home alone, just call them, give them a call, encourage them, and they appreciate it. And maybe before I finish, I think what Jane said was very important. Sometimes people don't have that information. Maybe you can pass some of this information through the churches so that our people will know the resources also they can tap into, those that have small businesses. So I think I just keep on encouraging them that sooner or later this thing will be over. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Pastor Abraham, and also bring you, Doctor Pastor Goki. As a pastor, you have a word of encouragement to, especially our community.
Okay, yeah, I will go in the same direction that Pastor Akonia said. This thing is for real. It's not a hoax. It's not just something that is just going to vanish away. We are bending the corner. I want everybody to understand, also believe that it will surely get over. We are people very resilient. We've gone through tough times, and we will survive this. But I want to pivot a little bit to the science behind the pandemic. And this is the fact that a lot of work is going on, and thank God for the two vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna that have been produced. I want to use this medium to talk to our people, and that this is a new century. Nobody is using us or Africans for guinea pigs. This is not the toxic G experiment that is being targeted to against black people. For those of you who work in the hospitals, because I am understanding that our people are a little bit reluctant to take the vaccines, please do take those vaccines. We have the science behind it. A lot of work has been done. Most of our medical doctors are also involved. And the vaccine is not a chip. And this is not to monitor or to depopulate us in Africa. It's unfortunate some of the things that is going on social media against taking of this vaccine. So I am using this opportunity to talk to our people right there. If you work in a hospital, it's being made available for you because you are at the front line. Take the vaccine. Nobody is putting a chip on you. Nobody is using your DNA to carry out some illegitimate experiment. This era, the age we are in now, our eyes are open and we know what's going on. The COVID vaccine has been developed. There will still be more to be developed because mutation will come in. Dr. Akane, who's the scientist, has told us. But I want us to believe that we will get over. We're strong people. We are resilient. I will use an African proverb that says, the sound of the war does not kill a layman or somebody who is crippled. A man who is crippled hears the sounds of the war. You know he's crippled. He will start walking. But it's only the cripple that is wise, that the sound of the war or the drums of the war or a war that has been announced will not kill. If you wait there, you'll be maimed and you'll be killed. So our people, let's take this seriously. We will survive. We'll get over. We'll make sure. This is one of the things we've gone through strong struggles, and we've always come out to survive. So the hope is there for us. We will make it, but let's follow the science and let's take the vaccine. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, I have to be honest with you sometimes, especially hearing from the pastors and the words of hope and encouragement that come from you really satisfies me a lot. And especially in moderating discussions over the last 8 months, there's something that I go to bed and I'm very comfortable with. the sense of unity that is really now being realized, especially within the immigrant community, gives me a major sense of hope. I see a situation where in the next 5, 10 years, where I see our brothers and sisters go beyond this pandemic. We see what our self-supporting our small businesses, make sure that we see weddings between the different nationalities, and enjoy together as our people have come from the motherland of Africa. So I think it's very encouraging to see you all come here and do what you're doing in your respective places. And I think I'm sure I speak on behalf of my colleague Ben Kebuato, who is working very hard from behind the scenes. This is why we are very determined to provide a platform where we'll be the CNN of the Africans in the US or in the diaspora. I think with the support of you, the leaders, and other communities, I think we can get there so that we can leave this for the next generation. So as we wind up, and hopefully that you all come back in another version to talk about different topics, let's finish up going forward. How do we move forward? And I think I'm going to stick with the pastors first. Going forward, how do you see us working together towards achieving a common goal? Of course, fighting COVID-19, but really working together as brothers and sisters from the African continent. I want to start with you, Dr. Akani.
Well, I think first and foremost, just what you have said, thank you so much for even organizing this and you're moderating. And one thing is that, as you said, information is very important and networking is the key. Networking, for example, what some of the things Jane was talking about, I don't think maybe some of our members in these other churches don't know, or the faith community. So networking is very important for us to network together and not just be a one-day affair that after this we forget about what we are doing, and also to have a common forum that will maybe bring in ideas that will bring us together more and more, and also to see ourselves as one, whether we like it or not. They see us as one. Let's see ourselves as one. And as Ngozi said, that there is strength in numbers. When we come together, no matter our background, we will understand each other the more. And with that, we'll march on and leave legacy for those coming behind us to build on. I think that's one way to move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abraham, and for all you do for our community. And obviously, hopefully, we will bring you back on the shows at some time later. So, to you as well, Pastor Goke, what's your closing statement, and especially how do we move forward as a brothers and sisters?
Well, so it's more integration, and also I want to appreciate you, the organizers of this program, and especially I'm going to pitch to all to Nigerians in diaspora. We seems to be maybe the larger number, the bigger brother. Maybe for certain reasons, we need to embrace each other. We need to embrace our Cameroonian brothers. We need to reach across to our Kenyan folks, because in the world we are in, we are not seen differently. We are seen as a people of Africa. And before you start telling them, I'm from the West, I'm from the East, or I'm Nigeria, I'm Igbo, I'm Hausa, it goes beyond that, and it calls for more collaboration. I want to get involved is what's going on in the Kenyan community, and I want the Ethiopian people to get involved in the Nigerian community. We need to reach across each other. We need to build bridges. We need to have a formidable network. I'm appealing also to our religious leaders. The world is bigger than that small place we call our own congregation. We need to find people that we share the same faith, have a network of pastors, not necessarily our own people of we speak the same tribe, people that we don't even speak the same tribe. It's only when we build a bigger network that we can get to be more reckoned with. Thank God for the election and our daughter who has won into the state house of assembly for Esther. She didn't get there through the Nigerian votes. The Nigerian votes alone will not even get there. Nigerians don't even live in our district. But it was through the collaboration of every one of you that saw her as somebody who's our pride, and people voted for her. both black and white. So that network, that basket needs to be bigger. We need to collaborate with more with ourselves. We need to find time. We need to get, invitations onto what's going on. Pop in, show your face. I know things cost money, but sometimes it's not only money. Physical presence, showing yourself in other people's program, lift them up, and we can lift ourselves up, and we can make this place, which is our home. Whether me or you, Dr. Odi, may want to go back, your children are not even going back. They are Americans first. This is their own home. So we got to show examples within ourselves, and we're going to make a better place for generations yet unborn coming after us. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Okay, Jean, I don't know of a person that I know so close to me like you, who has always and always talked about us moving beyond these ethnic groups. I think all the time I talk to you, right from school to now, you always tell me, Jeremiah, we can't move forward unless we get to a point where we move beyond this small ethnic. I mean, without due respect to our small ethnic groups, but as an immigrant community, it's important at this time in our history to start talking as one.
Thank you, Dr. Corey. This is really, I'm really honored to be with these amazing pastors who they see us as a people and still, having spiritual fathers. Thank you so much for what you do. Once I had an African pastor who said, if if my members have money, they will give the tithes more. you know and so I need to give information to my congregation so they can give more tithes to the church, right? So going back to how we African immigrant need to go beyond uh, um, our ethnic group and the tribe. We are African immigrant in Minnesota, and most of all our kids are black with African heritage. They grow up here. Their challenge is the same. Dr. Okari child, they're not from Kenya. They're here from Minnesota. Their ancestor is from Kenya. The same thing, my kids. They share the same challenge here. What that really means, how can we build our collective power here in Minnesota so we have a collective numbers, and instead of I'm Oromo, I'm Ethiopian, I'm black, I'm American. We still can carry all of our identity at the same time. But what really matter here as a collective power in Minnesota, how we can collectively work for common goal, go beyond our ethnic divide. And so our challenge is the same. If you go from Ethiopian small business to Liberian small business, their challenge is still the same. They all have lack of access to resources. But collectively, we can create a space for us. We're not asking for handout. What we're asking is for to make sure that the field is level so our people can access to resources like anybody else. We're not asking for special favor. What we're asking is we need a system that compatible with our people, and let's create a space for our people to make sure that our people also access the resources so they can pay more tax. Our people are not again, let me say, this number is a huge 2.8 billion purchasing power. 2.8 purchasing billion purchase with a B number. So we are in large economic power we have in here in Minnesota. Soon we are going to do national survey research also. How to see we are asset here in the United States. Collectively, we need to see that number, how that number also talk about our political power, economic power, all that need to be at the table so our our people not speaking in the perspective of deficit side. We are talking in asset perspective. We're asset in this country. We are contributing for this country, and we're going beyond this country to our route to Africa. And so we are bigger than what we thought. We are bigger than our tribe. We are bigger than our country. So let's start with that bigger perspective. We still, nobody can take away our identity, as we can have multiple identities at the same time.
Okay. Thank you, Jean. So let me bring you in, Ngozi, as well. And as you speak, I'm sure we also recognize that our female population, our sisters, our daughters, have a major responsibility in helping us achieve a united African immigrant community here. Ngozi, go ahead. Go ahead. I think Ngozi is muted. You're muted, my sister.
We have a lot of work to do. And every one of us has a responsibility, a part to play in that work. Like we have said, we need a common front, a united front. And that united front, it begins with each and every one of us. As an immigrant, as people immigrate into the United States, to Minnesota where we live, let's reach out to them. Let's teach them so that they can learn the ropes of the system, so that they don't fall into the pitfall that some of us fell into when we came in. Let's have an infrastructure ready. As we are all here together, each one of us, we have resources on our own. It wouldn't be a difficult thing for us, every one of us, to have a compilation of resources that we have. Africa has a lot of experts in Minnesota and in the United States. Can we begin from amongst us to have a compilation of resources so that when someone needs help, we have somewhere to lead the person to? And also, as individuals, we also need to learn to ask questions. It doesn't take anything away from whom we are when we ask questions, when we encounter things that we are unfamiliar with or what we don't know. Yeah, you may be embarrassed at the moment, but down the road, it will become a thing of laughter. You will laugh over it. But it can be costly if we do not ask the questions that we need to ask at that particular time. People get into a lot of trouble in school just for simple reason. Their children get into trouble with the educational system. Ask questions. Look for an expert in the community. We have educationalists here. We have people who are principals, who are people in the education system. Ask questions. Ask, and someone will lead you to somebody, and they will be able to lead you in the path that you need to go. If you have an immigration problem, ask questions. If you have a mental health issue, don't wait till it is too late to ask for help. There's no shame in asking for help. I know as Africans, we want to keep things, even though we are social, but at the same time, we want to keep certain things within the family. We don't want things to go out because we are afraid of what people will say, of gossip, and people will gossip anyway. When it gets out of hand, it becomes really more a public gossip instead of a gossip within a few people. And one thing I tell people is, look, you have to find someone in this world you can trust. When you have a problem that you can go to, even if it's your pastor, if you don't trust the pastor of the church you are going to, I don't know, you need to get out of that church and find a pastor sorry, pastor, I'm not taking members from you, but if you don't trust your pastor, then there's something wrong. You need to be you need to find somebody, you need to have somebody that you can confine something, confide in. And I tell people, you can start with small things, very small thing that that will not break your back. Just tell them something, and if they betray you, you can't trust that person with bigger things, And so we need to get to the point where we know that we cannot live on our own. We need others to survive. I need help. Other people need help. There may be things I will need help. I have some clients. I'll call Dr. Ni. Dr. Ni, I need. The other day I called Dr. Ni. I said I need mental health. He was laughing at me. He's like, no, you don't need mental health. You don't need mental health. So, but you have clients like that, and someone to reach out to in that respect. Let's get together. Let's work as one. And I'm glad that this is one of the good things that COVID has brought to us. We are able to get together and reason together.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. I'm sure we're going to have many engagements. And Dr. when you started this off, can you bring us home on the same?
Of our panelists have really spoken, and I think they cover a lot of things, and we don't need to repeat each other. All I can still say is we need to be involved. We need to be involved publicly. We need to be involved in the system. We cannot control the system with a remote control. You cannot change the system unless you are part of the system to give them idea on how to make a change for the public consumption. So I still preach of this involvement, inclusion. We need to do that. So among us, we need to also be very friendly. We need to be kind to each other. We need to be kind to yourself too as an individual. A lot of time we put too much on ourselves. We expect too much from ourselves. And from there we break down. So I encourage us to not have permission to take care of yourself first, because that is very important. That's what we call helping yourself in order to help others. So trying to help Nigeria or Africa or all the other people this Christmas time, and over here you cannot pay your rent. That is ridiculous. So you got to help yourself first. And I think I really want to advocate that. But more importantly, agencies that are bringing issues like this out, we need to also find them out. Like Restoration for All work with domestic abuse. They work with women that have been over-labored here. And so we need to also look at those resources that bring things to our community. And so I really want to encourage that. As they find information, let them bring it to our awareness and our educational system. Thank you very much. And I believe that this forum, since I met it, I know now they have been seeing a lot of thousands of people now, Nigerians and Africans and many other people. It's no longer for Kenya only. This is for all over the world now, all African. So I hope you guys will continue to do this. And I like your flexibility, because sometimes if you want to be culturally responsive, you have to also have some form of flexibility. I am not saying to the detriment of the business, but that is important. And I like you don't get very nervous sometimes. And I think that helps us to participate here. Many of people have not been on the forum like this. So I'm glad that you are really coaching us to be more public speakers in those kind of forum. So I thank KDRTV Live. Thank you.
Thank you. Many thanks to you. And I think that will mark the end of the discussion. But obviously, I want to extend my sincere appreciation. Thank you for taking time to come on, not just for KDR TV, but importantly for our community. I think that's the most important part. You could be doing something different, but because we all love our communities, you thought, let's come on here and share our perspectives on how we think community should be going forward. And many thanks to the two pastors, Dr. Akani, thank you for coming on. I'll be in your church sometime soon, and hopefully you come back on the show as well sooner than later. Thank you, Pastor Goke, as well. Very interesting perspectives. We hope to have you back on. Many thanks to our dear sister. You've been here before. I'm hoping that you come back sooner than later to talk about matters of law. And I think our community needs that. Jean, my very dear friend, thank you for all you do for the community. And I think many thanks. And I'm sure Ben and I really appreciate what you're doing. The gentleman, Dr. Oni, is always a regular friend. Is one person who started the show here. Many thanks. Now we are global. People watch us all around the world. Thanks to the support. And obviously, we're also encouraging our community members to support us in any way you want. If you want to go on Facebook at KDL TV, please like us and comment, give us feedback. On YouTube, subscribe. That's important. Also on Twitter, follow us. And I think we need feedback. More important, even for small businesses. If there's a way we can get support to build something for the next generation, I'm sure Ben and I will appreciate all that you do. So again, many thanks. Pass our Christmas greetings and happy holiday greetings to your families. Hopefully, we'll be talking and meeting you sometime soon. So for those ones watching, thank you so much. Tomorrow morning, we wake up at 10:20 Central Time. We'll have a discussion to Dr. Daphne Kenyaru, young doctor from California. She'll be on the show here talking about health living during COVID-19. I'll start that conversation with her earlier in the morning at 10:20 Central Time. Shortly after that show, my colleague Ben Kebata will be on the hot seat tomorrow, and we'll be engaging in this conversation with Dr. Miguna. This gentleman wants to be the governor of the great city of Nairobi, Kenya. So he will be talking to especially Kenyans here in the diaspora about his aspirations to the Kenya's capital, Nairobi. And then right after Dr. Miguna, will be having a conversation. Again, my colleague Ben Kebata will be moderating that discussion around mental health and domestic violence during COVID-19. And the guest panelist will be Nelly Torori. She was among the first ones who started the show. And then our dear sister Ngozi Akubuika will be back again talking on the same. And also our dear friend Dr. Julian Lusa will join that panel discussion. So on behalf of the team here at KDL TV, many thanks to you. Happy holidays. Hope to see you again here tomorrow morning. Thank you.